Hello guys, this is Areia. I'm an artist producer and filmmaker based in Seoul, South Korea. I mainly film Korean pop music videos and fashion. As part of my review and guide series for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, today I'm going to be talking a bit about the kind of media that you can use with this camera. There are various recording formats for different uses, and I will actually be getting to that in detail at a later video of this series. Today, I just want to roughly talk about the three media options, which are the SD cards, the CFast cards, and the external SSD solutions through the USB-C port. So many people are wondering what's the best solution. Before we actually get to different brands and different solutions, I just wanted to show at least once what are each of these options. So one of the companies that offers all of these three types of media is Wise Advanced, and I decided to grab a few to check out. The ones I got are the smallest capacities available, but of course they come in much larger sizes. So to begin with, we got this SSD, which is actually made for the Pocket 4K. You can even see this little picture here demonstrating how to mount it, and it seems to be including the mounting solution, something really neat. So let's open it and see what's inside. So voila, we've got the SSD drive here, obviously. It's actually so light, really light and quite small. Then we got this USB-C to USB-C cable, which one connects to the SSD drive, the other connects to the camera, of course. We got this nice band here, which is obviously for bonding together the USB cable, you know, if it's too long, and if you want it short, you can band it like this. And we got here the mounting option, which I will try to put together later, so we can mount the SSD directly on the camera. So I'll try to put this together now. It seems like it's just a screwable shoe mount, and then this guy slides in here and you can tighten it, and then we have the drive here that you can just pop in. So this is the cable that comes with this SSD. Of course, if you need it to be this long, it's nice. If you need it shorter, you can either use this band to put it together, or you can just get a shorter cable, of course. So actually, let me try to connect this nicely using this band here. Well, not the best I could do right now, but I'm pretty sure there is many good solutions on how to tie this together. And you can actually, of course, go get it around, or just get a smaller cable. It's good that they include the long one, actually, because it's good to assume, you know, maybe you don't want to mount this guy here, maybe you want to mount it anywhere under the camera, or you're using some gimbal and you just want to take this drive away anyways, it's good. Good enough for me. Actually, the highlight, I think, is that this is attached like that, and you don't need to deal with anything. Like, if you remember when I was using some other discs on my previous videos, I was just putting some Velcro up here. This is much nicer, and this is, yeah, pretty light. I don't even think it affects anything. And I want to say at this point why it's a very good idea to use this kind of SSDs rather than the normal internal SSDs from computers. These SSDs are made to use between 1 and 3 watts at maximum. The internal SSDs, I mean, they're efficient as well, energy efficient, but you might end up spending like 6 watts or 7 watts. And remember, your battery has about 15 watt hours. So generally, you might be using a large percentage of your battery just to power an external SSD. So these kind of SSDs that are made this small and for this camera might, I say might because I don't know exactly the rating, but might have actually much better performance when it comes to energy. They're more energy efficient. So let's record. So I have here RAW 301 4K DCI, 60 frames. So let's see how that goes. Ooh. this should record just fine. We're, I guess, around 200 and something megabytes per second bitrate right now. Generally, these are not exactly constant because different frames compress in different ways, in different ratios. So it says 3:1, but this could be a bit more compressed, but not less than 3:1. It wouldn't go 2:1 for any frame. That's the, I guess, the idea. So yeah, I've been doing now, I guess, 40-50 seconds of real time. This is when you record here, it tells you the slow time. So this is 2 minutes and 20 seconds of slow motion footage. So when we reach around 2:30, that should be around 1 minute. And I guess this is, yeah, as expected, a pass. Let's go to lossless. And let's go to 24 frames first, or actually let's go 30, why not? So there we are, 30 frames. Recording lossless now, lossless RAW, 30 frames. Yeah, so pretty decent here. 40 seconds and going, 45. I will just leave it a minute. Yeah, this is pretty convenient actually, this zoom mount here and the disc there. And I guess it's easy to just pop this out, pop another one if you have a couple. So not bad. Of course, people might have cages and everything, but then you can still actually, if you have a cage, I do have a cage here, I just didn't put it on this camera right now. You can as easily, you know, screw, instead of using this screw, you can screw that on the cage, on the side, under it, over it, wherever, because the cage has a lot of screw holes, so you can put it anywhere there. So this is pretty neat. Yeah, so I've been recording over 2 minutes of 30 frames, lossless right now, and it did just fine. I will just try 60. I don't expect it. Actually, the spec says 30 seconds of this hard disk if you look at the website. So I will just see how long it can do it. Yeah, it already failed at 4 seconds. Actually, I will be talking much more about the exact recording formats and what kind of views you would need. Because there has been a lot of people, you know, getting really obsessed about this lossless RAW, and there has been a lot of misinformation. Some videos or some people saying like, oh, it cannot do 4K 60 frames RAW, and people don't understand that there is totally fine RAW here, 3:1 compressed RAW. I will just tell you now, The Hobbit, the movie The Hobbit, was filmed in 5:1 ratio RAW. That was Red's RAW, of course, but you cannot claim that 5:1 Red RAW is less compressed than 3:1 Cinema DNG. If it is, it's probably the same. So that was enough for those people. They did heavy green screening, they did so many action, they spent so much money, and they were very fine with 5:1. So if you're not fine with this camera, this $1,300 camera with 3:1, I don't know who will be. And you will tell me then, why did they have the lossless enabled? Just because it can do it, so why not? So I'm testing the 48 frames right now. Yeah, it failed already, so 48 is a no. Other than that, I don't know, like, let's try 40. Let's see how it goes there. 40 fails too. So I'm guessing that, yeah, 30 is pretty much it for this, but it can do, of course, 3:1, 60 frames, just fine. So you got all your slow motion, and of course it can do any ProRes, anything ProRes. We're not even testing that, because if it can do 3:1 4K DCI RAW, of course it can do ProRes HQ. So let's check out this SD card. This SD card is class 10.3. What this means, it says 285 megabytes per second read speed and right up to 150 megabytes per second. So this is not your typical SD card. It's actually super fast SD cards that can record RAW files, for example. Yeah, so this is the 64 gigabyte version. There is also 188 and 256 gigabyte versions. So I will just pop it in the camera and see what we get. So it's recognized. It's the current setting I have, which is RAW 4:1 at 24 frames. It just takes 10 minutes to fill up. This is a very small card. But of course you can do something like ProRes proxy, which is actually quite decent quality. The bitrate is quite decent. You can do HD, for example, and you can have 45 minutes. Actually, no, you can have 221 minutes, or you can do slow motion for 91 minutes. Pretty decent. So let's see how well this card does, for example, for something like RAW 3:1. Other SD cards I tested, they couldn't do 60 frames there. Actually, they couldn't even do 24. So let's test that first. This is a very rough test, of course, now, because different conditions can have different kind of data, and it can affect the bit rate as the RAW files get compressed. Even lossless is compressed, actually. So I've been running this for 25 seconds now, and I'm moving the camera. I have my screen on, as you can see here, so I'm trying to create some kind of high dynamic range scenario where I have these dark shadows with my keyboard and under the screen, and then the screen. So this recorded for around 50 seconds. I think it's a pass. The challenge is, can you do this? Can you do 60 frames RAW 3:1? I will be really impressed. I don't expect it to, but let's see. It only fits 3 minutes, this little one, but yeah. It says to be recording so far. If something happens, you will see it in this screen down here. I mean, this there will be an exclamation mark. This is blinking now. The minutes indication, the remaining minutes indication is blinking because it tells me like, oh, hey, your card is finishing up. But actually, I don't have any drop frames. That's quite impressive. This is just an SD card again, so not bad at all. Yeah, this has been recording for 2 minutes of slowed down footage, so more than 50 seconds now. I think this is a pass, actually, so pretty decent. You can do RAW. You can do RAW 3:1 4K DCI 60 frames with just an SD card, which is really nice. And when actually Blackmagic RAW will come out, things are even better. You can fit more data, or you can still record in very high quality. Let's try lossless and see what's up there. So I will try 24 frames first. Going up and down here on different bright and less bright points. It's not the best test possible, but it kind of works, you know. $50 seconds, and it keeps going. So I will call this a pass for now. If you can do this, you know, for 1 minute and it still records, I think it's pretty safe to record with this. So that was actually RAW lossless 4K DCI with an SD card. Very nice. Of course, it shouldn't be able to record 60. So yeah, as you can see, I can only do like 1 minute. It says here like 60 frames lossless. I don't think we're gonna reach that. Let's try it. It needs, yeah, it's you get the exclamation mark here, of course. This needs like more than 500 megabytes per second. It's in my opinion completely overkill to use lossless. Some people that do green screen say, hey, you know, we need lossless, but actually I'm wondering, did you guys have lossless for all these years? Green screen works just fine with much lower bitrate. So I think it's just overkill. So it's pretty great, actually. I'm really impressed with this card. You can do lossless up to 24, and I'm pretty sure actually you can do lossless more than 24. Let's try something like I don't know, 48 will be really impressive. I don't think it will do it. Let's see. It's going okay. Yeah, we got the exclamation mark again. It means it's the speed is too fast. Let's try something less, maybe 35, just for a random number, just to see about what we're talking about. The more you lower the frame rate, the more time you will get like this, of course, before you drop frames, because it just has to happen at some point. But I think around 35 frames looks decent, maybe 40. So let's call it, for just to be safe. Yeah, you can film even a bit of slow motion in lossless, but why would you need that? 3:1, you can do 60 frames, and that's great. I'm not testing the 120 frames because that's in HD, so the bitrate is actually lower than the 3:1 4K DCI 60, so there is no really need for it, but yeah, let's do it, why not? So I'm just gonna go to 120. Now I'm in HD. Windowed mode, I'm filming 120 frames, and as expected, this will not drop any frames. So pretty good deal for this little card here. Now I wish I got the 256 actually. So yeah. And you can see actually these new SD cards with high bandwidth, it's first time I see them. I think they actually have, as you see, a few more pins. I don't know if that's just for these cards, probably it is. So yeah, this is nice. So next let's try this CFast card. Is actually my first CFast card. I have used them before when I did rental, when I work with Areia Alexa or other cameras, but this is the first one I will ever own. So let's see. So here it is. This again, it's the smallest CFast card that Wise Advanced makes. They make 128, 256 and 512 gigabytes. This is the 3400X. I'm not sure exactly what this indicates, as I've seen some 3600X that are slower than 3400X, so I'm not really sure. In either case, let's pop it in the camera and see what's up. So yeah, I will turn on the camera, and this is the back side of the CFast card. You can actually write something here. This is precious for me. I wouldn't write on it. Maybe just like an A or B or some funny name like Venus, just to differentiate between my other CFast cards, which I don't have yet. So yeah, the settings are RAW, 3:1, 4K DCI, and I will test directly 60 frames. Going around, making sure I'm moving the camera to make sure there is a difference in the bitrate. If you're just doing this test on black screen, then everything is black. Every frame is kind of low bitrate, so you might not get drop frames in that scenario, and you might get drop frames in another scenario. So I'm trying to create these scenarios. I'm just moving the camera around, create a lot of bitrate, a lot of bandwidth. So yeah, this seems to work. I've been recording, I guess, about 1 minute now. So I will just switch it off. So let's test another one. So let's test RAW lossless, of course, 24 frames. So this is 270, right? Actually, it's not 270 because it's 24 frames, so it's a bit less than that. So let's test it anyways. It should be able to do just fine because we just tested the RAW 3:1 60 frames, which is a lot of bandwidth as well, 200 and something. So yeah, this is a pass, of course. So let's move on and go to 60 frames, lossless raw 4K DCI. Oh god. So let's see. Yeah. Yep, it cannot do that as expected, of course, for this card. So let's go down a bit the frame rate. These cards actually sell with, I think I've seen it somewhere. It's not like they claim 60 frames lossless on the Pocket 4K. If you check the website, they actually say exactly what they can do. I'm recording off speed 30, but it's pretty much similar thing as doing 30 frames project frame rate. I did some tests before with other discs, with other media, and they seem fine, but then at, I don't know, 55 seconds they suddenly drop frames, so that's not an ideal situation. But I do want to emphasize here, guys, that even a few seconds of, let's say, you know, you have 40, let's try it 40, let's see what happens at 40. So I'm recording 40 frames now. It seems to actually be working for now. Okay, it just dropped frames, but it did record 20 seconds worth of slow motion, and that's not terrible. I mean, of course, you should be able to record whatever you want to record when you're on a super professional project, you know. So I would change to RAW 3.1 at that time, or get, you know, try to find some media that does 60 frames lossless if I'm so desperate. But you know, for most projects, actually, you know, you just want to do a little slow motion of something falling, you know. So it's not like a card not doing a constant frame rate, you know, for a long time. It doesn't mean you cannot use it at a frame rate. So yeah, I think we can get 30 seconds easily. 30 frames per second lossless. Again, this is just benchmarks. I always record actually at 3.1 or 4.1, and I'm super happy. Clients are super happy. Whatever I'm recording high or mid-budgets. I mean, mid-budget music videos like, I don't know, $10,000 budget. RAW 3.1 is more than enough. Usually people actually record in ProRes. So when I do 3.1 RAW is pretty cool. Sometimes I'm doing Ultra HD because I don't want to deal with any, you know, resize or anything in post. So in this format, for example, it can do easily, you know, the 60 frames per second. So I think that's very decent. And this card is super nice. So I actually got this reader as well. I got everything else, the CFast card, the SD card, the SSD, so I need a reader as well. So this is actually a really nice dual reader. And you can, let me focus properly. So it takes SD cards and CFast cards. There's a write protect switch here, two different LEDs, and it has a USB-C connection. See, this is a USB 3.1 Gen 2, so you can copy the files really fast. I mean, for this kind of media, USB Gen 1 is kind of fine as well, but maybe in the future you get media that can copy faster, that need to copy faster, so that's a good. So yeah, I got this cable. It comes with two cables actually. They like I was asked about this. So this is to USB type A, right? But you can use, of course, USB-C to USB-C. So yeah, I will not be testing this because I'm assuming it does the job of copying the files to the computer pretty fast. So now that we have all these formats here, I want to do a kind of test actually. I was reading about some people that were talking about how you might lose your files when the camera goes off, especially when the battery goes off. And well, that's something really important, right? So I want to test each of these formats, these kind of media formats here, to see what happens with each of these media, because I hear the rumor somewhere that CFast cards are supposed to actually save your files even when the battery is going out. Let's see if that works. So yeah, the test I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna start recording something and then just pull the battery out, which I assume it's the same thing as when the battery goes off and the camera shuts down. I wouldn't do it off, of course, like with the switch, because I'm assuming the camera has some something to prevent, like first I'm saving the file, then I'm shutting down. So I will just be doing this test with pulling the battery off. So I'm gonna try both raw. I'm just gonna put lossless here. CFast card, lossless raw, 24 frames. I'm just gonna hit record. It's recording a few seconds. I pull the door out here so I can easily pull the battery off. So, okay, there it is. These are all genuine Canon batteries, by the way. That's another episode that we'll be talking about. So yeah, I hit play here, and there is actually, the clip is there. I will be checking these on computer later just to make sure. Yeah, so it seemed to cut at some point, which is reasonable. So your media is not lost. Your clip is not lost, it's just cut, which is reasonable. But let's do ProRes, okay? ProRes HQ, 24 frames, recording. Yay. And I just wanted to leave it a few seconds. I don't know how the buffer works, what's happening in the camera right now. So I'm just gonna pull the camera a bit more quiet than last time, I hope. Okay, so the battery is off. I really don't like doing this in my camera, but yeah. So, guess what? This is indeed the ProRes file. What do you know? It is the ProRes clip. That's pretty decent. So yeah, this is the ProRes clip. Really interesting test. It's nice because many people say like, oh, you know, my data will be lost. But you can see clearly your data, your file is not lost. It's totally here. You can open it. Of course, a few seconds from the end are missing, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 seconds. I'm assuming maybe a bit more in the ProRes. Now, this is all using the CFast card, of course. So what I read, that CFast cards are more expensive, more professional, exactly for those reasons, that they actually they can save the file even when the power is off. Maybe they have, I don't know exactly how it works, but this is super nice. So let's see how the SD card does. This is not something Blackmagic exclusive, by the way, what I'm testing now. I know for a fact that many people that have trouble with other cameras, like stills cameras, they do lose their files all the time. You know, something goes off with a speed booster, or, you know, their battery is off. They do lose files a lot. So it's not a complaint about Blackmagic cameras or this camera. I just want to test this theory, and it worked actually, as you saw, with the CFast card, and that's super great. I'm starting to think like, oh god, I have to use CFast cards, but actually I'm managing the battery thing, you know, in a different way anyways. So anyways, let's format this SD card and do a similar test. So I'm having ProRes HQ now. I'm filming SD card, and I'm going to remove the battery. Okay. And I'm gonna hit the play button. And what do you know? The file is here. I don't understand. I don't understand. All this, there has been some videos out, some people saying like, oh my god, I lost my files. No, you don't. Is that they're actually here. I just tested. And I just pulled out the battery. It's the worst thing that can happen, right? Like the power just cuts. So let's test anyways the Cinema DNG as well, the RAW. I'm just gonna reformat the card and now test in RAW. Normal shoot, so let's see. popping the battery out. And there is the clip. That's your raw clip. Totally fine. It does not save a few seconds, but it did save like 10 seconds. It's before I even move the camera, but you know, I guess maybe you lose 5 seconds. That's not terrible. You still have, you know, your shot. Okay, so the last test, let's try the SSD, I guess, and see how that works. So I formatted the drive. I'm first gonna try lossless RAW here. So I'm recording a few seconds. No, measure it this time. So I'm in 15, 16, 17 seconds. So there is my disk. And guess what? The file is here. The file is totally fine. Up to, we took the battery out at 16 seconds and it recorded 14.2. So it just lost like about 1.5 seconds. Pretty decent, actually, if you ask me. This is an extreme test right now because you should be responsible for keeping your camera powered. If you're just doing casual shooting, of course it doesn't matter. But even for casual shooting, as you see, it works just fine. You just lose a couple of seconds. Let's test ProRes now. ProRes works differently than RAW. That in, you know, it's one big file. RAW is many. Each frame is one file, so you would expect it wouldn't be a big problem because it's writing frames, and even if, you know, it doesn't close the file, it works because there's no file to close. But for ProRes, it's much more complicated. Even I'm surprised this actually works because I expect that this ProRes file has to somehow close, like it's a closed file, like it's finished. Let's see anyways, I'm recording this. So this ProRes now, I'm recording, I'm gonna measure the count the seconds as well. So this is around 15 seconds now, 16, let's see. I'm going to pull this battery out at 24 seconds. And I do have a ProRes file of 19 seconds, so that's a few more seconds that I lost there, but they're there. It works. So yeah, it's I don't know why some other people reported like, oh, you know, guys, this is a huge problem, I'm gonna lose my files. But I don't know where these reports are coming from exactly, what these people are using. I'm just using these guys that show you during this video, these Wise cards. Maybe it's just the brand. I don't know, maybe other brands, they actually behave very differently, but these all in all these three, it's not just CFast exclusive or SSD, all these, even the SSD saved the files just fine, even when you pull the battery out, which is the worst case scenario I can think. I don't think it affects something else. It's pretty much a good test for what happens when the power goes off. I wouldn't test with, you know, just powering off and on, because then you give, the camera knows you're recording maybe and just tries to save the files. But in this case here, it did very well. So I think much better than other cameras actually, like consumer cameras or stills cameras that I heard horror stories about people losing their files and everything. So yeah, this is everything I tested today. It seems to do a really decent job and is, I guess, a very good solution as well. It's good to have a lot of different brands making different media. So we see, you know, some kind of competition, better pricing. CFast are slowly getting there, you know. A few years ago when the first Ursa came out and had CFast cards, and it was using CFast cards, everybody was crazy, like so expensive, right? But things have been getting much better these days. You can find a lot of different options. This is one from Wise Advanced, and this SD card is nice that they started popping out, and the prices are not extreme. In my case, I would go with the SSD. I really like SSD. It's cost effective, and it's not such a big deal for me because I kind of rig it, even on stabilizers and gimbals. I'm using this contact size lenses. I'm using maybe a bit heavier lenses as well. Like mounting something like this is not a big deal for me on the gimbal, so I don't really care if it's CFast or anything else. So, but some people, might just like this. I would probably say like some people that's shooting high budget stuff might want to go with CFast cards, and some other people that they're more casual shooters might want to go with the SD card. It's not necessarily about the cost, actually. It's about just the kind of media you're using. Like this, you're paying a bit more for the CFast cards for a few reasons. One of these reasons is that this is supposed to be much more rigid and sturdy, a more professional format, that it shouldn't be damaged. But the SD card is, just a little plastic here. I can actually break it with my hands right now. I wouldn't. So yeah. And the SSD, I guess. The SSD and the CFast card is actually pretty much, I'm guessing they have pretty much the same things inside. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this. Again, this was just the first part of this talk about media, about the Pocket 4K. I just wanted to show you all three options, and I wanted to be, the same brand, so I have everything together and kind of elegant and uniform. But I will be showing more options, and I will be talking very specifically about the use case and the scenarios of all these. So I want to demystify in some way all these, rumors or, talks, misunderstandings with people thinking like, oh, I need lossless RAW, or oh, ProRes is not good enough. Just to give you a hint, like a little teaser, I will tell you that lossless RAW 60 frames per second is more than 10 times than GH5's 400 megabit recording format, which is the highest you get in GH5. The first model, you have to pay $100 for it. So that's 10 times more bitrate, and that 400 megabit on the GH5 is actually something super special for that kind of shooters, the still camera shooters. For cinema camera shooters, you see we have this bitrate here, this codec that is 10 times more. And we're still like, oh, like even the RAW 3.1 is several times more than that. And people are like, oh no, I want lossless because I'm doing, some kind of work. I don't know what kind of work. I think I gave an example, a good example before, how people film The Hobbit in 5.1 compression, RAW compression. And I think that's good enough. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching this. And I will be putting more of these out. I know you have so many questions, and I'm trying to answer in the forums and everything, but I do want to make this kind of videos. So you can have some kind of reference whenever, maybe you forget about something, maybe you're still waiting for the camera, unfortunately, and maybe 2 months later you receive it, hopefully much earlier, but you receive it at some point and say, hey, about now I'm thinking I want to buy a Ronin S. Okay, I want to go back to those videos and check them out, or about the media or about anything. So thank you for watching, and whatever you have right now, go out, shoot. If this is a Pocket 4K, that's great. If it's not, go out, shoot, plan, make some nice movies, and see you next time.